One Focus Radio.
Welcome to the show, it's Dyer's Daily. Keeping in the know, it's Dyer's Daily. We've got chat, we've got discussion, nice and slow, ain't no rushing, reading emails and events. Sometimes he makes no sense. It's time to start the show, it's Dyer's Daily. He'll be there in a mo, it's Dyer's Daily. We've got plays, we've got interviews, even stuff that's in the news. Local and otherwise, come and try it on for size, it's Dyer's Daily.
Hello and welcome to the Dyer's Daily podcast for Thursday, the 13th of December 2018. Today we're talking about revivals of old series, missing believed wipe, just a little bit of the conversation including Morecambe and Wise, Doctor Who, etc. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment after we hear from some other podcasts that are out there. There are other podcasts? There sure are. Check them out right now.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all these games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
So yeah, so it'll be like, I'll be like, hey, and then you guys will be like, hi.
Wait, is my
Like,
headphones plugged
and I'll be
in?
like, we are the Drunk Detectives.
Mm-hmm. Meat
All
and
right.
potatoes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi. Hi.
we are the Drunk Detectives. We are a true crime comedy podcast.
So we're funny. Sometimes.
So we pair handcrafted signature cocktails with cold, bloody, unsolved murder. We release a new episode every Sunday, and you can find us on the Apple Podcast app, on Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, and Radio Public. Or you can follow us at www.thedrunkdetectives.com.
Bye.
Dyer's Daily.
Well, dear listener, I am just a little bit excited because it's the 13th of December, but I do not feel unlucky. Okay, 13 is something of a lucky number for me, and I'm not really sure why. It might be because, like many people, I lived at 13 once, and it feels like it was lucky. You know, it's like every time I encountered it, it seemed like a lucky thing. So, not really related to anything. I feel good. One, because it's Thursday the 13th. Friday the 13th is a different matter, but the 13th, it's not really relevant, actually. So that's one reason that I'm happy, okay? So the other reason is that over Christmas, I get to sit down and watch Morecambe and Wise, as I do every year. Big deal, you're probably saying. It's been on for 30 years, practically, non-stop, you're saying. But not these two episodes, because very recently there were two new discovered episodes in a cinema in Sierra Leone, right? Which have not been seen for 50 years, because the shows were actually thought to be lost in an era when they used to wipe things. So they find it in Sierra Leone. And it's very kind of... it's very weird to think these are guys who've sadly been gone like 19 and 35 years, and yet there's something virtually new and unseen coming out from them, and I'm very, very excited for it. They're two new stuff, as it were, stuff that's never been seen. We have seen so many clip shows of Morecambe and Wise over the years with the same material, and I think it was Barry Cryer who once said if you listened to most media, you'd think all they ever did was Christmas shows, and they didn't. They did series as well during the year, which were just as good as the Christmas shows, but because those Christmas shows had high ratings, it was obviously seen that, you know, they were the most popular. But yeah, because everybody sits around at Christmas and watches TV together or does things together, so it's a shared experience. Whereas I guess throughout the year, they're still popular, but in the things of time, as I've said in a previous podcast, it is normally stuff at Christmas where you do the same thing every year, or you have certain traditions every year. So therefore it kind of gets remembered more, I guess. But these two episodes, originally from 1968, are being broadcast on BBC TV over Christmas. I would imagine on BBC Two. And funny thing is that it's a guy who goes round, who found them. It's a guy who goes round and looks for this stuff. And he's previously, according to The Express, recovered 60s Doctor Who and the Sky at Night programmes from Nigeria, which is an amazing thing. Well done to that guy for doing it. You know, it's fantastic that he's still, after all these years, going around doing stuff. I mean, he's been doing it for absolutely for decades, I think. And it's great that this undiscovered stuff is coming out, because not only for things like Doctor Who is it important, you know, to preserve that, because that's got a humongous following and any fan of it wants to see stuff that's lost. It's also good that he's finding stuff like Morecambe and Wise and seeing the value in it, because sometimes comedy can get left behind a little bit. They'll go, oh no, they made a joke there, let's throw it on the scrap heap and never talk of it again. And the thing is, comedy is subjective, and there are elements of comedy that will have their dated moments. So will sci-fi, so will drama, so will factual programs, so will everything have their own little dated thing. But anything that has been lost for years and decades deserves to be seen in some capacity. Obviously, if it's people walking around and everything is offensive in every way possible, don't do it. But if it's something that's mildly okay, that you can, you know, that the ravages of time have not been completely cruel to, then people should see it. You know, and I think it's wonderful that they're screening these Morecambe and Wise, that they're not doing what they normally do with the Doctor Who's and sticking them on DVD and then charging us for it. Because I don't know where you stand, dear listener, on the BBC and their whole commercial operation, because they're supposed to be a public service broadcaster, so they make stuff with our money, right? And then they sell it to us and make profit off of it, obviously to make more programs. So on the one hand, do you really need the license fee if they're doing this? And on the other hand, why are they selling it back to us? Why are we buying it? Because in some ways, anybody who moans about the license fee and then buys it on DVD, buys something on DVD that was BBC made with your money, surely they can't complain, because you're paying extra. I mean, it might be that it goes in to help other areas. You know, like they have some companies that are literally just they sell DVDs and product and merchandise just to fund the release of other DVDs and merchandise, because some of these vintage programs need remastering, they need, you know, extra care and detail. So it might just be that, and I might be just barking up the wrong tree. And I'm trying, as you can probably tell, to not go too political on it, because I've always said with this show, don't go too political. Leave politics out of it. So we're not going to go anywhere near the whole license fee debate. Maybe one day, maybe we should get somebody on to talk about that. I think that would be really interesting. That is a mental note for the future. There we go. Sadly, we're actually coming to the end of this podcast. So let's just start the music, shall we? Yeah, go. Right, so thank you very much for listening to the Dyers Daily podcast. Please go to your favourite podcast provider, rate, comment nicely, people, and subscribe as well for access to the latest episodes of this particular podcast. My name's been Jamie Dyer. Thank you very much for listening once again. Email us, dyersdaily@southwavesaudio.co.uk. and go to the website as well and check us out. So, see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye-bye.